Hey everyone, welcome to another iWoman Report. I'm Kathleen Trigg-Jones, and today I am joined by my dear friend AC Eggleston Bracy. And today is Crown Day, if you didn't know. That means it's a day to celebrate our natural hair. And AC, you were instrumental in making this not just a day to celebrate, but actual law. Tell us about that.
Well, first, happy Crown Day, everyone. So today, Crown Day, July 3rd, celebrates actually putting the Crown Act into existence. July 3rd, last year, 2019, California Governor Newsom signed the decree for the Crown Act. And Crown stands for Creating a Respectful Open World for Natural Hair. Sadly, today, this act is needed because in most of America, you can actually be discriminated against because of your natural hair. What that looks like is kids maybe sit home from school because they're wearing braids or locks or twists, and the school can say it violates the school's grooming practices or policies. And literally, I've had stories of young girls like Faith in New Orleans who was sent home and sent actually to the principal's office, and then other young people were sent to the nurse's office because of what? Their hairstyles. And then this also happens in the workplace. You can actually be offered a job contingent on you changing your hair, or not offered a job because you violate the corporation's grooming practices or policies. What the Crown Act does is makes that illegal. It actually makes hair a protected trait under previously protected civil rights legislation, equal opportunity legislation that makes you protected as a woman or being a person of color, etc. And so now the Crown Act helps recognize hair as one of those traits that defines your race and makes it illegal for them to discriminate. So, in short, July 3rd is the 1-year anniversary of having the first act passed. And since then, we've had 6 other states pass the Crown Act. So we have 7 states passed and 43 more to go.
I have so many things I want to say right now. I mean, one, it is a shame that this is so necessary, but it's really necessary. And I want to see all 50 states pass this legislation. Those of us who identify as Black females have had this issue. I don't know one who has not had this issue of feeling discriminated against, less than, different. Our daughters are suffering from it as well, so I think this is it's so critical and important that you were able to get this legislation through.
Yeah, it was really a proud moment. I had the pleasure of being there with Senator Holly Mitchell. Senator Holly Mitchell actually carried the Crown Act. So a couple thoughts. I work for Unilever that has about 24 brands. One of them is Dove. So on behalf of Dove, that really believes beauty should be inclusive and each and every one of us should have access to feeling beautiful and confident. And we know today there are stereotypes in society that make that not the case. So out of that, on behalf of Dove, I went and spoke to the National Organization of Black Elected Officials. And in that said, you know what, we can change this. Let's change it. And I looked in that room and there were so many of us that had textured hairstyles, locks and braids and all sorts of expressive styles who express who we are. Super professional because they're legislative officials. And Senator Holly Mitchell came out of that. That was in December of 2018, roughly, and said, I didn't know that it was legal to do that. She looked into it in February. She said, I'm going to carry the Crown Act. She determined the name Crown. She called it Creating a Respectful and Open Workplace for Natural Hair. We evolved it to World. And in record time, like from February to July, she had it passed into legislation.
A lot of women that are watching this, or people that are watching this, might think that this is just a Black thing. This is, legislation that's passing because Black women, want to be able to wear their hair however they want to wear their hair. That's not at all what this is about.
It's not at all what this is about. Hair discrimination is discrimination. And how we got the Crown Act passed was we clarified that hair is an extension of race and should be a part of the protected class of race in the same way gender and sexual orientation and race are protected. So it's not just a style. It's not superficial. It's inherent in who we are. Right. So when Governor Newsom signed the Crown Act, and I had the pleasure of being there, he spoke about how significant this was. This was beyond what others might perceive as a superficial hairstyle. This is all about identity and making sure we have the opportunity to participate and contribute and actually be economically empowered in society. If you can't have a job, you can't go to school, what kind of impact can we have? And ultimately being valued. So Kathleen, it is so much more than Black women wanting to wear their hair anyway. It's about us being who we are in the world and contributing and having economic access and us being valued as a community in total, which is .. Black Lives Matter.
And I was going to get into that because in this climate right now of Black Lives Matter, the discussion is across the board about where we as Blacks have really been discriminated against in schools, in independent schools, in the workplace, across the board. And this is just one piece of that overall puzzle, but this is such a big piece because I've just heard horrifying stories of girls and women who have been discriminated against, including even boys. The boy that had his dreadlocks cut off in order to be on the team, things of that sort. This covers all of that.
The stories are heartbreaking, really heartbreaking, especially when they happen to our youth. One of the young women that we've worked with Dove, and it's a part of our campaign for the Crown Act, Faith from New Orleans, when she was in the 7th grade in New Orleans, and this was now about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, for the first day of school, she shows up in beautiful braids, excited, for the first day of school, as we all are. We put on our best dress and we have our best hairstyle, and she had fresh braids, and the braids were convenient for her mother. Right? For many of us coming out of been swimming over the summer. But anyway, she was told to go to the principal's office and she had no idea what had happened. Great student. And she's asked to go home. And she said, "Why do I need to go home?" She said, "Because of your hair. And your hair is against our practices, our policies." And she said, "My hair?" And they sent her home. And her mother was like, "She shouldn't have to change her hair." So anyway, she doesn't go to that school anymore. And they were threatening to expel her. She ultimately changed schools. They had to go to court locally to make sure that was not continued. But still, Louisiana remains a state that does not pass the Crown Act. In the South of Virginia is the first Southern state that's passed the Crown Act. So it's heart-wrenching. And when Faith tells her story today, she speaks about the heartbreak.
That mental, emotional damage you just can't get rid of. We carry that throughout our lives.
It is. And when she still tells the story, tears come to her eyes. And that's one of thousands. Every day we hear a story of students who aren't allowed to graduate because they have practices, because they have locks. And that's young boys and girls alike. You talked about the case in New Jersey. That was Andrew Johnson, where he was humiliated. I mean, he was asked to either forfeit the match or cut his locks. And we all saw the referee basically hack his hair off. And you felt like you saw his pride dissolve right with that. So what the Crown Act makes possible is that's illegal. That's just straight out of me illegal. And what we have to continue to do, despite the fact that it is still legal in some states, most states, to do this, is hold our head up high and advocate for ourselves and help educate
Amen.
that who we are is not our hair, and our hair is who we are, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, AC, I'm a huge fan. I've seen you really champion for equal rights across the board. And as we always like to say, discrimination against one is discrimination against all. So thank you, Dove, and thank you, Unilever, for getting behind this so important cause. We're going to celebrate Crown Day today, and we're going to celebrate you and your team. Kudos to you for making this happen.
Thank you, Kathleen, and happy Crown Day, everyone.
Thank you.
The other thing I forgot to mention, Kathleen, there's a really awesome app. We're doing #PassTheCrown, where you can celebrate your crown. So if you go to thecrownact.com, try out the app and spread it with your community to show my crown is fierce, my crown is all that, my crown is me. So have fun with it.
I love it, love it, love it. All right. Thank you so much, AC.
Ciao.
Bye.